Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariam. So I have not really been in the mood to read any particular sort of genre recently, which is very strange for me because I'm a mood reader. I always know exactly what I'm in the mood for. But since overcoming my most recent reading slump, I haven't really been in any particular sort of mood. So I decided that it would be as good a time as any to get some of my most anticipated releases of the year out of the way, because I have every single one of them as an e-arc off of NetGalley, and I've had them for a good while. They have just been catching dust on my Kindle bookshelf because I have not been in the mood to read any of them. So I thought it would be a good idea to take you along with me while I read some of my most anticipated releases of the year, which all somehow come out within the span of like the last couple of months of the year. I do have a couple of options that I'm going to be choosing from based on my mood and kind of where this reading vlog takes me. I don't know if I'm going to read all of them in this vlog. I might just read 2 or 3 of them. We'll see how everything goes, but I do have 4 choices. The first of those 4 choices is a book that I have already started, so it's definitely getting read in this video. But that first choice is none other than Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. So Our Violent Ends is the sequel and the conclusion to the These Violent Delights duology series. These Violent Delights came out around this time last year, and I read that book and I loved it so much. This story is basically a very true retelling of Romeo and Juliet, but it's set in 1920s Shanghai, and it follows these 2 rival gang families and the heirs of these families, Roma and Juliet, who have a complicated past and a complicated relationship and dynamic, and a lot of drama is going down between these 2 families within their gangs. But a lot is also happening in Shanghai, and there's a lot of themes of like colonialism, colonization, and like the turn of the century. Romeo and Juliet is a text that I have studied very, very closely because I was in the play in high school and we had to do a lot of studying before performing that play. The story as a whole just holds a very special place in my heart. So while These Violent Delights wasn't what everyone else was expecting, it was like exactly what I was expecting and exactly what I needed. I think a lot of people were going into it expecting the romance to be the main plot of the story and at the forefront, and that's just not what Romeo and Juliet really is. Even though the romance between the 2 characters literally is the name of the play and it is the driving force of all of the drama, there's just a lot more moving parts that go into the story, and I think that Chloe Gong adapted it in such like a genius way. But I did end up giving the first book 4 stars because there was just a lot of exposition, especially in the first half, and it made it kind of hard to get more into the story because of all the exposition and world building and everything. And like, it's taking place in 1920s Shanghai, like a real point in history, but it does have fantastical elements. But the fantastical elements didn't really warrant the amount of world building that was given to us. I think some of that could have been cut down exponentially in place of more character building and character moments. But anyways, I'm about 15% into Our Violent Ends right now, and I am loving it so much. Like, it honestly just jumps right into it, and it just jumps right into all of the drama and everything that we left off on in the first book. That cliffhanger literally had me dead last year. Like, I just wanted the second book so badly. I am so far enjoying Our Violent Ends even more than the first book, and I don't want to speak too soon, but it honestly could be a 5-star read. Like, it really could be. But I'm just hoping for a happy ending. I'm probably naive for wanting that, but I want that for Roma and Juliet. I think that they deserve it, but we'll see what happens. So Our Violent Ends is definitely getting read since I'm already reading the book right now. But the other choices that I have are Iron Widow, Vespertine, and Jade Fire Gold. So firstly, Iron Widow, I don't really know much about this book. The only thing that I really know about this book is that it is a sort of retelling of the only female emperor of China, and it is sci-fi, and it has a polyamorous relationship, and it's probably one of the first like mainstream YA books to have a polyamorous relationship and be very vocal about that from the entire marketing process. I'm honestly for that. Y'all know that I enjoy reading about polyamorous relationships. I just find them fascinating. I love the dynamics. I love how that can be explored in literature, and so that's all I need to know about the book. It comes out in a couple of days, so I don't know if I'm actually going to be reading my ARC copy or if I'm going to be reading the physical book or if I'm going to be reading it at all during this video, but we will see what happens. But I'm really excited to see what's in store in that book. Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. After reading Sorcery of Thorns and An Enchantment of Ravens back to back in like late 2019, I think, I was like tweeting Margaret Rogerson, begging her on Twitter for another book because I don't know what it is. I just love her novels so much, especially during this specific time of the year. She just knows how to write like a fall, autumn, wintry atmosphere, and she just writes with like these very fantastical elements that are perfect for this season. Vespertine, don't know anything about this book. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have read this synopsis so many times and I have no idea what that thing says. Like, I'm not even sure if it's written in English because it just goes in one ear and out the other every single time I read it. But I don't care. Like, this book could be about absolutely anything, and as long as it has Margaret Rogerson's name on it, I'm reading it. I don't care. And lastly, we have Jade Fire Gold, another one that I know absolutely nothing about, except that it was marketed as the main two characters having a Zuko Katara-like relationship, except that the female character is more of a dark Katara. And as you can see, I think it is safe to say that I would be interested in that dynamic. So yeah, those are the options that we have to read for this video. I am honestly, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty optimistic that this video will be a success, but I don't want to speak too soon. I'm going to go read more of Our Violent Ends, and I hope I don't cry, but we'll see what happens with that. See you later. I just got home from watching Shang-Chi for the second time. If you haven't watched it, you definitely should because it's a new favorite Marvel movie for me. But before I left, I made it to about 75% of Our Violent Ends, and like, I'm literally so blown away right now. Like, this is one of the first fantasy books that I'm reading in a long time this year, and there couldn't have been a better time for me to read this because I'm just head over heels for this book, and it's so much better than the first one. Like, I just have to say that the first one, I really enjoyed it. What is going on? The first one, I really enjoyed it, but it was just a lot of setup, and I know that a lot of people didn't like that about it, and it kind of ruined the book for them, that it was like so much exposition, not enough of the characters, and especially not enough of the romance. And like, I really do get that. I was enjoying more than the romance in that book, which is why I think I liked it so much. But Our Violent Ends is a fucking masterpiece. It is a work of art. The characters, the relationships, just everything happening, all the plot twists, so amazingly executed, and I'm just kind of in love right now. Like, I think it's gonna be a 5 stars. I don't want to say that too soon, but I think at this point it has pretty much solidified the 5 stars. But I'm really scared for what's gonna happen in the ending, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm gonna go finish it now, and we'll see. We shall see. Oh my god. I cannot believe what I'm reading right now. She's so sick for this. I hate it here. I'm gonna be so completely honest with you right now and let you know that it has been over 2 weeks since I finished Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. I just want to say right now that I am not going to spoil anything. I do cry at happy and sad endings. I cry at any endings. Anything that I love or enjoy, even moderately, that comes to a close, I'm just going to sob. I'm gonna sob my eyes out. So don't take those as a spoiler, but this book absolutely took a toll on me in a lot of ways. I can genuinely say that I enjoyed Our Violent Ends so much. It's one of the best sequels I've read, one of the best conclusions I've read, especially to this kind of story. Chloe Gong is so talented, so talented. Like, let's talk about that, because this is Chloe Gong's debut work and she is younger than me. I'm just feeling very, very inadequate right now because, you know, what do I have going on? What am I doing for myself while Chloe Gong is over here writing and publishing complete masterpieces? I just thought that it built off of the foundation of the first book in a spectacular way. Like, if you read These Violent Delights and you didn't really care for the plot, but you really had an attachment to any of the characters, I would definitely say go ahead and pick up the second book when it comes out, because I just feel like it dives so much deeper into these characters and it gave them so many more moments. And I mean that for all of the characters and all of the relationships. Genuinely, I do feel like this book dived so much deeper into Roma and Juliet and their relationship, and it fleshed it out a lot more. What they have is just so beautiful. It was just a beautiful book. Such a beautiful sequel and conclusion to a series. That last page just before the epilogue is something that I don't think that I will ever forget. It's memorable. It's memorable to say the least. So that's that. Our Violent Ends, 5 out of 5 stars from me. I didn't even have to think about it. Even though it's not a perfect book, I don't think, it gave me everything that I needed it to give me, and I loved it. So on to our next book. I did end up choosing my next book about a week ago. I did decide to read Jade Fire Gold as my second book for this reading vlog because I wanted to buddy read something with my friend Azanta, and we decided on Jade Fire Gold because we're just really interested in like these Zutara vibes that it's apparently supposed to give off. So we did start Jade Fire Gold, and right now I am about 34%. I didn't think I was that far into the book, honestly, but I'm 34% into Jade Fire Gold. And I have thoughts. I'm liking it so far. I cannot say that I am loving it or anything of the sort. So basically in Jade Fire Gold, we are following two people. We have two POVs in this book. We are following Alton and An. The setup of this world is very much, pretty much the foundation of like 90% of YA fantasies. I'm not going to lie to you. The beginning of this book definitely gave me Shadow and Bone vibes, a little bit of Children in Blood and Bone. I definitely am getting the Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes as well, because An was kind of raised by this adoptive grandmother, and like she does everything for her grandmother, kind of like her main motivation at the beginning of the book. And she lives in this very, very small village that doesn't really have a lot of resources or money or anything. And then we have Alton on the other hand, who is fugitive on the run from the emperor of the land, because his father used to be the emperor, but his aunt and uncle actually assassinated his father and usurped the throne from him when he was very young. And also both of these characters have possession of magical abilities of some sort. And of course, say it with me, magic is illegal. And then An has like these special powers that no one else has. Like there's only one of them at a time, and they're called life stealers. I don't think I just said one coherent sentence, but it's gonna have to do. So yeah, that's where we're sitting as of now with Jade Fire Gold. I'm either going to go and finish it and talk to you when I finish it, or I will talk to you whenever I have another update. Okay, hello. So it has been an undisclosed amount of time since my last update, but here I am. And I'm gonna be honest with you, let me check. I'm not that much farther into Jade Fire Gold than I was the last time we spoke. I am now on 39% of Jade Fire Gold, so that's about 5% more than the last time. And I am just contemplating some things, mainly DNFing this book. I have just been thinking, and this book is just very, very young YA. Like it's giving me very young YA vibes, very beginner level YA fantasy. And while I usually pride myself and like have kind of made it a brand of mine that I really enjoy YA fantasy and all of the predictable tropes that usually come along with the genre, I just don't know how much more I can take. It's just kind of, it's kind of getting old. I don't know. You know, not to dissuade anyone from reading it and everything. It's just not giving me what I had imagined it was going to give me. And it's just been a little bit disappointing. I don't really have any motivation to pick up the book once I put it down. I will say that I am not formally DNFing it just yet. I'm at least going to get to the part where our two main characters meet up again, because they met very early on in the book and they didn't really know the role that the other was going to play in like the grand scheme of things at the beginning of the book. And I think they're about to meet back up where I'm at right now, and I want to see, you know, what that dynamic is like. I'm going to wait until after that meeting happens and see if like that kind of makes the book a little bit more interesting to me, and then I'm going to decide after that if I'm actually going to DNF or not. Yeah, so I made it to about 44% of Jade Fire Gold before I decided to make the executive decision to DNF it. We had all of the characters, we had some queer relationships going in the book, some interesting dynamics going on, interesting, you know, political things going on, magic system. The book really has a lot going for it, but unfortunately it's just written really, really young. Like it's a very young YA book, I would say. Like it leans more towards the younger side of YA, and that's just not what I'm really looking for. It just really didn't seem like anything new. I really could predict every single thing that was happening. It just wasn't for me, unfortunately. I would still absolutely recommend people to give it a shot. Like if it sounds interesting to you, if you read the synopsis and the summary and it sounds interesting, I would absolutely give it a shot. Really, really disappointing. I was looking forward to it for a good while, but we move. So I have decided to start Miss Iron Widow, and it's actually not that long of a book. I thought it was going to be longer than this before I went to go pick it up from Barnes & Noble, but yes, I'm very excited for this. I am hoping I love it. I'm really hoping I love it. I have heard nothing but good things though, so yeah, we're gonna give this a shot. See you when I have read some of this and have some thoughts. My eyebrows are too dark, aren't they? Let's just ignore it. So in a shocking twist of events, I have actually finished Iron Widow by Shirin J. Zhao. I hope that's how you pronounce it. Where to even begin with this book. As you can probably tell, the reason why I didn't update while I was reading this book is because I ate it up between work and coming home to read this book. I just didn't have the wherewithal to update you while I was reading it because I was just so obsessed and focused on finishing the story because it completely captured me from the very beginning. I believe at the beginning of the video I told y'all that I didn't really know what this book was about other than that it was a new YA release. It is a sci-fi. I knew that the main character's story was kind of inspired by the only female emperor of China, and I also knew that there was a love triangle in this book that turns into a polyamorous relationship, which we love. But also I didn't remember until I was in the middle of the book that I did remember seeing the comp titles on Goodreads while I was reading the synopsis. And the comp titles were specifically Pacific Rim meets The Handmaid's Tale. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I have not seen Pacific Rim yet, so I did kind of struggle with the concept of the sci-fi elements in the story for a little while, but I definitely understood them by the end, and I'm literally going to watch Pacific Rim after I finish filming this because I'm so curious as to the similar elements to this book in the movie. But so basically this story takes place in this country called Huaxia. I don't know if that is the correct pronunciation. I couldn't find anything on the author's Instagram or website, so I'm definitely gonna have to do a little bit more research. I apologize in advance profusely. It's very interesting because this country is definitely based on ancient China, but it's in a more futuristic setting. It has a lot of the, values, traditions of ancient China. They still wear traditional clothing and they still have a lot of aged traditional practices, but it takes place in this time where they do have futuristic technology like hoverboards. It's a very interesting balance of those. But in this country we follow our main character Zetian, and she is an 18-year-old girl who lives in the countryside. She is very, very angered by the death of her sister, and the way that her sister died is that okay, so stick with me here. So this country was invaded by aliens millennia ago, and the way that the humans have figured out how to fight against these aliens is to basically build these huge robot creatures, robots kind of in the shape of creatures from mythology and stuff. A man and a woman are the pilots of each of these robots, and they pilot them with their chi energy, and so it is very much mental, not physical. You are tested mentally to see how much chi that you can emit, and if you would be powerful enough to pilot one of these robots and fight these aliens successfully. The way that they have them set up is that the man is the one who is mainly piloting, and the man is using up the woman's chi energy to do this. And so 9 times out of 10, the women who join them in piloting the robots die. Their energy is literally being used to fight the aliens during battles, and they just die, and another girl comes to take their place, and it is just a horrible cycle of violence against women, one of the many that are displayed in this book. This is how our main character Zetian's sister died a couple of months before we start the book. And so Zetian's bright idea is to enlist in the military to become a pilot for the same man that was piloting her sister's robot and subsequently was the reason for her death, because she wants to get close to him and kill him. I'm sure you're thinking that this man probably was not actually the cause of her sister's death and is actually one of the love interests. That is not the case. She definitely kills this man. She goes into battle with him, and instead of him using her chi energy and killing her, she ends up pulling a reverse Uno card and using his chi energy to fight in the battle and killing him. And that's what sets off the entire events of this book. It is very much a story about women's anger at patriarchal society. In those elements, it is very, very brutal, and I don't think that the author sugarcoats really anything in this book when it comes to violence against women. There is discrimination against women in literally every single aspect of this society, and it is really about the main character taking all of that into her own hands and just wreaking havoc on men and on the societal standards that are set in this world. I will say, like, right off the bat while I'm on this topic, that a huge part of this book is foot binding. If you have never heard of foot binding, I would urge you, if you want to read this book, to go and research into it, because it was a practice in China for a long time. It's a very horrifying practice to read about and to hear about in general. And the main character of this book, along with most of the women that live in this society, have their feet binded. It is something that the main character has to deal with every single day, and it is highlighted in everything that she does. It is, you know, not something that's mentioned once and then kind of forgotten about. It is something that affects her with literally everything that she does. So it is strewn throughout the story, and it was really horrifying to read about that, but I really do appreciate that the author didn't shy away from any of that, and, you know, highlighting what women have gone through in history. Like, this was a reality at one point in history. So yeah, there are honestly a lot of content warnings. I would definitely go look them up on Goodreads, but other than that, I love this book so much. I really love Zetian's romantic partners, and I love how naturally that relationship came about. All of the characters have a individual relationship with each other kind of before they merge together into three. So I love how naturally that came about, and I just love all of the characters in general. I loved how angry Zetian was, and I just loved how she accomplished everything through her anger. Like, her anger was literally her driving motivation for literally everything that she did, and everything that she did in this book, I think that she should be allowed to do that. I really do. I don't think that she did a single thing wrong. Zetian's arc in this book really reminded me a little bit of Ren from the Poppy War, but things that Ren does, I've only read the first book, but I can see and I can assume where she goes from that in the rest of the story. I think the things that Rin does are a little bit more like, like she's, you know, kind of going down the wrong path in a lot of the things that she does. Even though she is also very much driven by her anger, it's kind of manifests in a different way than it does with Zetian. And I think that is definitely written that Zetian, everything that she does that is kind of horrifying herself, I think that she was very justified in doing, and that's kind of where the line is drawn between those two characters. But I definitely saw some similar elements in the characters, and I thought that that was very interesting. I think that I would rate this like I think 4.5 stars, because I've been really throwing around the 5 stars lately, but like, if I had a great time, why wouldn't it be 5 stars at this point? Like, who cares? I very much enjoyed this book, and there is going to be a second book. I think it may be a duology. I don't think it's a trilogy, but I don't know. But I will absolutely be picking up the second book, and I'm highly anticipating that. I just rambled on for way too long about that book, but that will be the last book of this video. I did actually get Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson just the other day when it came out, which just tells you how long I've been filming this video. I think I want to read that off camera because I heard through the grapevine that there is no romance in Vespertine, and I had a feeling when I first read the synopsis that there wouldn't be, but I still had hope. But now that some of the reviews are coming in, very great reviews by the way, it has become clear to me that there is zero romance in this book, and I really struggle with reading books that don't have romance. So I am kind of scared to read Vespertine. I don't know when I'm going to read it. I might read it next, but I might not. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have read any of these books, because I think all of them are out. Oh, Our Violent Ends comes out in November. But if you have read Jade, Fire, Gold or Iron Widow, or if you plan to read them, let me know some of your thoughts going into it or coming out of it. Let me know some of your most anticipated books for this fall season. Hope you enjoyed. See you in my next video. Bye.